And we're back.
All right, another episode of the Road to Code.
I'm Victor.
I'm John.
Gerard, you're on mute.
Your mic's muted.
Oh, I'm Gerard.
Welcome.
That magical button on the mic, huh?
Yep.
Cool. Jonathan,
Yeah.
what is it that we have in store for the Zignifikant application?
Yes, we're going to continue working on the events page and get it hooked up to the API so we can get the database all viewed up.
Sweet. Let's get right to it. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add a couple of Nougat packages. Go ahead and add the Nougat package while I'm talking. So the first one that we're going to be adding is called Automapper. And Automapper basically just takes two objects that you've instantiated and matches them. It actually just sends the values from one to the other without you having to write the actual code. The other one is Automapper extensions Microsoft Dependency Injection. It's just something so that we don't have to go and instantiate Automapper and go and configure it. We don't have to write that code over and over. We just put it in one place and it automatically just creates it for us. And then all we got to do is just use it.
All right.
Both of them are in there?
Both of them are in.
Excellent. So we're going to use those later when we're creating the repository class. So I just wanted to get those out of the way in the beginning, just so that we don't have to go back to them. All right, so let's continue on. I think the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create the event details class. Yeah, so the event details class is going to go in the data folder. So that's going to be all part of Entity Framework. The event details is actually going to be the, how do you call it? What drives the construction of our table. So when we go and create the table through code first, in Entity Framework, it's going to use this object in order to drive that. Yeah, so that attribute is actually a decoration. And so you'll need to hover over it and show potential fixes. And yeah, we'll be bringing in that data annotation schema. Cool. Now that we got the table, we need to add the fields. So you're going to add the ID, the date of the event, the title, the description, and create it by. So you may have to hover over that key and get the show potential fixes just to get that namespace in there. Yep. Very cool. So this will go ahead and build our table after we've added the line of code where we go and set the DB set inside the data context class. So we'll go ahead and modify the data context and let's add the DB set for event. Yeah, this will automatically allow us to create the migration scripts and it'll grab the information from here and it'll create our table in the database when the application launches.
Cool.
All right, so that takes care of all the Entity Framework stuff. We're done with the Entity Framework. What we need to do now is we need to create models of data that we can use for the UI. So we'll start by creating a folder under the models folder. We'll create another folder called responses. And then in that folder, what we're going to want to do is create two models. One of them called event summary model, which is going to be the ID, the date of the event, and the title for us to be able to display on the homepage. And then the other one's going to be the event detail model, which is going to have everything, the ID, the date of the event, the title, the description, and created by, so that we can show it when they click on one of those particular items in the homepage.
All right, those are the two ones. And I'll start with the summary model first.
Sweet.
That's that one.
That's that one. Can we do one quick check? Can we go over and check out the event details tab? Yeah. In here, I just noticed that on line number 10, I think it's just supposed to be ID.
ID.
Yeah. All right. So before we start creating a repository, let's go and configure the Automapper. So in the program.cs file, we're going to have to add a couple of lines of code to do the configuration for Automapper, where we tell it what objects and what direction it can map the information.
Right. So right where I'm at right here, right?
Yeah. So after the DB context, which is after line 46, you're going to have to bring in the namespace for the event summary model. Import the namespace. There you go. Yep, that's it.
It changed it to an A. Is that cool? Model.
It changed it to an A?
Yeah.
Model.
What you can do is, let's go over to the event detail model. Oh, interesting. Oh, event summary. Look at your event summary model.
Oh.
So right click on the file, rename it. It's going to ask you if you want to change the class as well. You hit yes. And so that'll change your class. And then if you go back to the program.cs, it should change in there too. So it changes all the references for you. It's one of the powerful features of Visual Studio. Makes it so cool. I think you called it event detail model. And you should probably, yeah, let's rename it details, because details has more. So you got to go to change the file. Sweet.
There we go.
Gotta love those tools, you know. Pretty helpful. That's just Microsoft trying to be helpful. Would you say that would be credits to Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, or Satya Nadella?
That's probably Bill Gates. He's pretty smart like that. He wants to help people, right?
Yeah. All right. So now that we've got all that straightened out, let's go ahead and create our repository class. So we have a repository folder, and that's where we're going to go and create our event repository class. And then in there, what we want to do is we want to add a constructor. And the shortcut for the constructor is if you go in the body of the class, just type in CTOR. It's like Victor, but CTOR, tab. And then inside the parentheses on the event repository, inside the parentheses, yeah, in there, we'll go ahead and add our two parameters. One's going to be the data context and the other one's going to be IMapper. And so if you go to the end of context and you just press Control period, you can see where it's the second option, create and assign a field context.
Whoa, cool.
And then you can go to the end of mapper and do the same thing. And it'll be the first option this time.
Nice.
Pretty sweet, huh? Gotta love those Visual Studio tools.
Yeah.
And then I think the next thing would be to create a method where we can go and get the event summary. So we'll create a method called get event summary. And you may want to bring in a namespace for the event summary model too. And the reason that has a squiggly line is because it's expecting you to return a list. So until you finish the method and return the list fully populated, that squiggly line won't go away.
There we go.
Yeah. So this is going to call the context, which is our data context. And it's going to go and call the event details. And then it's going to filter where the date of events is greater than or equal to right now -3 or right now +3 days. And so that'll go and grab a week's worth of events starting today, 3 days back, and 3 days forward. So you have a whole week. Nice. So on Monday, it'll pick it up from Friday, go to Thursday. On Tuesday, it'll pick it up from Saturday, take it to Friday. Wednesday, it'll pick it up from Sunday, take it to Saturday. So you always have like a total of 7 days plus your current date of events that's going to be returning back from the database. Kind of cool?
Yeah.
Let's continue. So a neat little trick on this one is if you just type in for each tab. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. I'm missing one small detail. Go ahead and create your event summary list first. Cool. And then, oh, look at this. It already gives you the for each.
There we go. For, I think it'll be item.
Sweet. So however many items it brings back in its result, we're going to create our own list called event summary list. And then we're going to iterate through each one of the items in the result. And we're going to map it. We're going to map whatever the item is over to the event summary model. And then we add the event summary model over to our event summary list. And we return the list. And we got our data to display on the home page.
All right.
Cool. The next thing we do is, let's say, for example, that people are looking at the event summary list on the home page and somebody clicks on that item. So this next method is actually going to be the one that goes and grabs all the details of that one item from the database. So we're going to call that one get event by ID.
All right.
Take it away, Jonathan.
Let me shrink this so I could.
Yeah.
There it is.
Pretty straightforward. We call the context. We wanted to look into the event details table and set a filter where the ID is equal to the ID that's coming in on line 27. And we grab the first or give us a default. And guess what the default is, Jonathan? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
First or default. That means it'll give us a record or it'll give us a null value. And so it only brings it if it finds it, which it should find it, because if we're displaying it on the home screen and they're clicking on it, that means that it's in the database, because that's the only way that'll show up on the home screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty safe call to make here. Sweet. That puts us into a position where we can now create our interface. And so remember, we always work with interfaces. We never work with the actual concrete class itself, right? So it's always we work with contracts. And so luckily, Visual Studio has some really cool tools to extract the interface. So if you just simply right click on event repository, quick actions and refactoring, extract the interface. And this is everything that we want. We want the event repository. We want the two methods, and that's the new file name. We can click OK with that. And that'll create it, and it'll put our implementation on there. Pretty
Nice.
Pretty snazzy, huh?
Yeah. Right
cool. Let's see here. So now what we are going to do, so everything that we've done to this point, it has set up the foundation so that we can go and implement our controller, which is basically our API. So let's go over to the controllers folder and create a new file called home controllers. And that's where we're going to put all our code for the API. Actually, you know what, Jonathan? Let's do it in a different manner. Let's go ahead and close this tab.
Okay.
And we'll let Visual Studio do a little bit of work for us. So go ahead and delete that home controller. And if you right click on controllers on the folder, add controller. And we want to make it an API controller. And then the first option, just an empty controller. And now we can go ahead and give it the name home controller. Excellent. And so inside the body of the class, we're going to put a constructor in there. Helper, there you go. And then inside the parentheses of the home controller constructor, we want to bring in the event repository, and we want to bring the logger. So let's bring in a namespace with that. So you can do a control period on there. And then space, and it should give you an option for repository. You can just select repository down at the bottom. Or actually, event repository would be appropriate for this one. Sorry. And then, so you'll do the open close brackets. And inside the open close brackets, you're going to put home controller. Normally, we give it the same name of the class that it belongs to. Yeah, and if you hit space after the close and just call it in as logger. And then if we do the control period on both event repository and logger, we can go ahead and add the fields to the class.
Cool. That's it.
Well, that's it for the constructor. Now we're going to add our methods. And in that class, we're going to create the method, which is going to pull all the events for the week, right? We're going to call that one get events.
Get events.
So that'll get us the list of events that we can display on the homepage. The second method is the one that's going to bring us that specific item when the user clicks on from the whole page. It's going to go and grab it by the ID. And so we'll go ahead and call that one get event by ID. Shortcut, Jonathan. You can probably copy it from your previous method.
Oh,
the catch.
Oh, yeah. Shortcut.
Cut and pasta. It's a restaurant joke.
We say that all the time at the restaurant.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I think this is it for our API. I mean, let's talk about what's going on in line 32. We are actually going to use the URL as a way to pass in dynamic values. And so when we pass in /1/2/3, it's actually going to take that / whatever number we put in there, and it's going to parse it out for us. And it's going to plug it right in for us on line 33 as the int ID. And then from that point forward, our code just kind of flows, goes on with its normal flow at that point. We need to do one more thing in our configuration for dependency injection. So we're gonna have to open up that program file again. And yeah, after line 55, we need to add the new map, which is the I-event repository. So literally you can probably copy 55 and paste it onto 56. And then you can replace the I-user repository with I-event repository. Why is that builder complaining? What's going on with that? Oh, line 53 is missing a semicolon. That's why.
Oh,
yeah. Sweet. And then the last thing that we need to do is set up our migration script. So I think you might have the, no, you don't. How do we open up the package manager? I think we need to go to view, up to the menu view. And is it other windows? And then look for package manager console. Down 3, 2, 1. There you go. Yeah, in here is where we're going to go ahead and type in the command to set up our migration scripts.
all right.
Gotta love it when things just works, huh?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that command that you just entered. So we're going to add a migration. And because we have two contexts, we have one for the application and one for security, we had to specify which context it should use to create the migration. And then we just called the migration, we gave it a name called add events. Now, we could go and update the database, or we can just go ahead and run the application. I would prefer to run the application because when we push the code, we're not going to run this migration. It's just going to upgrade it for us. So I think at this point, yeah, I think at this point we can, we could go ahead and launch the application. And then when you launch the application, go ahead and launch Postman so that we can test the API. All right, let's go open up Postman. And we should be able to do, is it 4402? Is that the name of is that the port?
Yep.
Yeah, 4402. Yeah, we just replace that weather forecast with API / home / what is it called? Get events. Yeah, get events. You'll notice that it has a 200 OK, but this is not what we're expecting. This is actually returning a web page. We're gonna have to go ahead and stop the application. We need to modify the proxy. So if you go, you can go ahead and open up the client app. Go ahead and expand the folder client app. And expand source. And then look for the setup proxy.js file. Remember this? We have to modify that. We have to add our URLs here.
Oh.
So yeah, after line 10, put a comma and a new line. So here we're gonna, inside of double quotes, we'll do API home get events. And let's save this. And then let's launch it and test it again. Let's go test it out in Postman. There we go.
Yeah.
Now we got an empty list.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because we don't have anything in the database. So let's go put some data in the database. Expand databases, significant DB.
DB tables.
Yeah. And there's your event details. So let's go ahead and right click and edit top 200. And go ahead and open up a browser. And let's do a search for today in tech history. We're going to plagiarize a couple of things here. We could go ahead and copy that Microsoft Axe Mousey. Go over to your database and paste that in the title. Now, the date, what's the date on there? Go ahead and tab over back to your browser. The date is
May 2nd.
May 2nd, 1983. So I'll show you how to do the entry. So you're going to do 1983-05-02. And that's good enough. And then let's go and copy the description. And go ahead and put that in there. And then go ahead and put your name. Let's grab a couple more. So if you go back to the page and scroll down a little bit. All right, let's go back to Postman and run it. See if we get the 3 records back. Look at that. So that would be what displays on your homepage, right? We're just going to show the date and the title because that's what we're showing right now. And the ID is what we're going to use to send them over to the details page. So let's go check out the details page. So let's do, no, you can go ahead and stay in Postman. And instead of get events, just type in event / and let's just bring 1, the first one. Oh, well, that's because it's not in the proxy. Remember, we got to put in a proxy. So let's go stop Visual Studio. And let's go add it to the proxy. So this one here, what we'll do is we'll do comma, and then a new line and API homes / event / and that's it. So you'll notice that the other ones don't have a /, but this one does. So this one, it at least leaves a wildcard after that.
Mm-hmm. So we have to start it up again.
Yeah, you got to start it up again. And let's go over to Postman. Oh, is it event or is it events?
Oh, I put events.
You put events? Let's go look at the controller. Go to the home controller. Oh, you put event. It's event. Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to stop it and restart it.
Oh.
Because this proxy only executes when you launch it. Hey, let's try number 2.
Cool.
And
there it is. 3. They're all in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And that would be what gets displayed when they click on the link and we take them over to the details. And so kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think as far as the implementing the API is as far as we're going to get today. But Jonathan, tell us what we got in store for the next one.
Yes. We are going to set up the user interface to make that happen so you can see it. And we'll watch as the significant events dynamically change week by week.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of hobby programming, and I'm going to go plagiarize the internet, and I'm just going to populate the database with information.
Cool.
So, and we'll share that code hopefully on the next episode so we can get a bunch of data in there. People, get out there, register, help us test this. It's bulletproof. Our code will be your code. You can take it, you can have it. Yeah, so if people appreciate what we got going on here, they show us appreciation.
They can go over to buymeacupofcoffee.com/theroadtocode and buy us a cup of coffee.
Buy us 3. Check it out. Very cool. Well, until next time.
Peace out.